What have we collectively discovered today? I'm not going to try and sum it all up. There have been some really, really interesting moments, and I'm sure people will have their own memories and things that they've taken home. I love the interactive part of the day this afternoon. That's been really good. It's got people talking. I think that's a really positive thing. One of my takeouts, given that we were focusing on the environment today, is that I think we've heard quite widely and frequently that we need to get better at understanding the data that underpins the relationship between transport and the environment. I think we're really, really in the very, very early stages of that. If you want to know about the amount of pollution along a corridor, it's pretty difficult. It's difficult to get hold of the data from DVLA if you want ANPR data because of all the data protection issues involved in looking at that. That can act as a proxy. Air monitors are not a very good method of measuring it. So I think we can really pressurize that. One big takeout, which a colleague mentioned to me, is that there's a tremendous willingness to share and de-silo, which is really coming through strongly. So my challenge would be, okay, we've said we're willing, what are we actually going to do in practice to breathe that into life? I'm therefore really excited to hear about Innovate UK's initiative to generate a knowledge hub. I think that's an excellent endeavour. I think I'd kind of join it to the sort of the idea that Theresa Jolly and myself have been working on, because actually we want to do that, but we want to collect everything together. So the BSI thing, etc. So we got this line of sight across everything. And we can manifest that through conferences, through events, through workshops, through getting academia involved, all those many, many things, so that we've got this clear visibility. I think we all need to do it together. We've been talking about doing it with data. We also need to do it with the knowledge that we're gaining in this space and all the many initiatives and activities. Albi's activity, tremendous activity, Transport Systems Catapult, to just go into local authorities and find out what their view is of the level of skill and effort that they're putting into various areas of the marketplace. Important work. We've also got a smarter traffic management conference, is that right? Yeah. Do you want to just tell us about that?
Meeting. Thank you. This is a free event. It's in York on the 5th of March, and there is some funding available for local authorities. So if you are involved with traffic management and you want to go to that event, they would very much welcome you there. And Graham's going to do that much better than I just did, because I only got an email this morning.
You got most of that right. It follows from the 28th of November conference we had, where 150 people came, and we actually built in a really good, we set out a really good action plan of actions which we need to take forward, nobody else needs to take forward. So what we also said, we need to create a user group, of brains if you like, to see how we actually deliver that. And we're using the Traffic Technology Forum to be the vehicle for that process. So what we'd really like is as many people from local authority, practitioners, background, to come and actually help us inform what the DFC needs to be doing, what network operators need to do. Going back to Nick's point about exchange of ideas and of proofs of concept, to really pull all that information together and actually be able to formulate a plan about what we need to do, when we need to do it, to create not only better traffic management but also data management as well. So the user group has it is a first remit for traffic technology, but it feeds back into the work which we, the Department of Transport, are trying to do, and back into a contact group as well.
Yeah, definitely. Can we send the link out to members through the TDI? So if you want to join, thank you, Laura. If you want to register, the link will be in your inbox, so you can come along.
Okay, so a few dates for your diary. The next TDI event is taking place on the 21st of June. That's at the studio in Leeds. So the lovely studio. Thank you very much, studio. I don't know whether anyone is here to hear our applause, but good food and a good venue. Very pleased with that. Another one in Leeds on the 21st of June. And that has the theme of connected and autonomous vehicles, whatever the hell they are. Then we've got TDI 8. That will be taking place on the 26th of September, and that's back in London at Hatfields. And the theme of that is mobility as a service. So actually have a think about that, because if anyone wants to present, the TDI team would love to hear from you. There's also a policy group meeting that's going to be taking place in March. If there are any suggestions for the future of TDI, that makes me feel nervous. But you know, nourishing its future, getting more funding would both be a very good idea. Then speak to Laura. I will sort of also flag up that there is a digital transport exchange. The first one, as our colleagues from Oxford know, took place last year at the end of July in Oxford. We're going to be doing one here in Birmingham in the iCentrum, and that's going to be on the 11th and 12th of July. And again, we're looking at how to boost the format of that and make it more interactive. I am going to conclude with a plea, which if I can find the time, I'm going to turn into a book, which I'm going to call The Jam We're In. I'm first speaking on The Jam We're In a few days' time at a round table, and I will launch it then into a blog. The problem I have, I mean, I was very influenced by a book that Will Hutton wrote called The State We're In, and I loved the title in the 1990s, which looked at this country's obsession with the market, which is so obsessional that it has failed to actually have sufficiently strong institutions to control the market, which tends to mean that we become too subject to the market. Now, I think the equivalent of that in transport is a mindset in successive ministers of all political stripes, which revolves around ribbon cutting and paying huge amounts of money for infrastructure. And we, poor mites that we are, struggle to get any money at all to get funding for data projects and intelligent transport systems projects, which cost a fraction of the money that is poured down the necks of infrastructure. All they seem to want to do is build bypasses, HS2 being the biggest bypass in the world. 35, 45, 50 billion squid for we're not quite sure what, has backing of all political parties, tremendously big ribbons involved all the way along that route. But actually, we don't quite know what we're going to get for it, and it just seems to perpetuate this myth that the answer is to build out infrastructure. And what you do when you build out infrastructure is you induce traffic, whether it be on the railway or on the roads. And we know that there's loads of learned studies about that. So what we actually need to do when we go back to our various ranches is to pressure those who can influence decisions into realizing that we are relatively inexpensive, and with the use of better technology and better digital data, we can actually make better use of the stuff that we've already got. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming today. It's been a tremendous day.